Hello everyone and welcome to another Trimcraft Tuesday video. This week I thought I would make some cards because it's actually something that I do an awful lot of but don't tend to share a lot on my channel, so I thought it was about time. So I'm going to make two shaker cards with the new first edition Let's Celebrate paper pad collection, whatever you want to call it. And yes, I think this collection just really screams shaker card because it's so fun and colourful and bright and there's lots of little elements. And yes, so just as a couple of disclaimers before we start, I probably make shaker cards different to you. It's one of those things that I never saw a tutorial of, I just kind of figured it out, which therefore means I probably don't make it in the inverted commas proper way. So yes, I just thought I would say that. So if you make it a different way, that's cool, but just like, this is the way I make it and I'm happy with the way I make it. But anyway, so what I have started off doing is choosing 3 papers, and for once in my life I've actually got some measurements for you. So one paper was cut at 5 7/8 inches square and the other one 5 5/8 in metric if you prefer that. That's 15 centimeters and 14.3 centimeters. Here in the UK we like to chop and change between imperial and metric. Sorry if you can hear that siren in the background, by the way, but yes, I think, yeah, as I said, in the UK we tend to chop and change. There was a thread on Reddit recently, don't know if any other of you guys are Redditors, but it was, I can't remember what the name of it, it was on Ask Reddit and someone was asking about weird British things and someone American said something like imperial or metric UK, choose, and someone said imperial for guesswork, metric for accuracy, but which really made me laugh because that is kind of true over here, but at the same time not, because for me I tend to use inches with my paper crafting. I think it's because I've done so much scrapbooking and so much of that comes over from the States and they use imperial. So anyway, that was a massive tangent. I've cut borders. Have I already said about the borders? Yes, I did. Sorry. Anyways, I used those frames I made to trace the shapes onto my foam. That foam I pick up in the range. It's Dovecraft Junior pastel foam, so you can find it in like the kids craft section, but it's so much cheaper than buying anything else, so highly recommend. And as I said, yes, I'm just tracing the frame shapes onto that foam and then cutting it like that. I always cut the outside edge slightly inside of the pen line and the inside edge slightly outside of the pen line, and that is so that you can't see the foam. When the card is all assembled and put together and stuff, you cannot see the foam through it, if that makes sense. I hope that makes sense. So yes, that's what I'm doing there, and I find it easier to use a craft knife when I do the center section. I'm not sure why. I think it's because if you use scissors you need to make a slit first, and then you wouldn't have that square foam piece to use for other things. Anyways, so in the middle of my 2 shaker sections, I'm going to have this little fussy cut panda. I've chosen a slightly smaller one. There's 2 different sizes on there because I thought the bigger one was going to take up too much room and you wouldn't be able to see the things shaking around, the sequins and whatnot. So I'm just fussy cutting him. He is not the easiest thing to fussy cut, I will say. It did take a while. I think it's because of the balloons and stuff. There's lots of little things, but it's fine. Someone asked me recently about fussy cutting, like how I do it and stuff. I am of the school of thought that you move the paper, not the scissors. Use the further inner bit, I'm sure there's a proper word for that, of the scissors where they're the sharpest. I use Kiki K scissors because they are super sharp, to the point that I have on many occasions cut more than the paper, usually my hands and or fingers, sometimes things like my duvet cover, which has a massive slit in it thanks to fussy cutting with those scissors. But yes, I think that's all I can really think about to say for fussy cutting, really. If you have more questions, feel free to ask, but I don't really know what else to say about how to fussy cut. It's just sort of something you do through practice, I would say, personally. Anyways, you can see there when putting my acetate on the foam, I've just kind of eyeballed it. That's what I do for this kind of thing. I find it so much easier than measuring. Maybe it's a bit slapdash, but I don't care. That's the kind of crafter I am. Oh no, look, I spilled sequins again. This is becoming a bit of a habit of mine. I'm just clumsy Grace. But yes, so I put the acetate down on the card first and then the foam on top of that. Other people do shaker pockets the other way round. They'll have their backing piece of card put the foam on, fill with shakers, then put the acetate on top kind of thing. I don't know if it matters. I've always done it this way. Yeah, whatever. And as you saw, I have glued my little fussy cut panda on the front of that acetate there, because there's going to be obviously another shaker pocket layer going on top of that. And I just made a random sequin mix of just pretty colourful sequins, filled them like so, and then put the foam on the back. Now, when I am doing this with the foam and everything, I will put the adhesive on the foam before I put the sequins in. So, for example, if I'm using double-sided tape, I will take the double-sided tape backing off first, because if you do it afterwards, then you're more likely to accidentally knock it or something and just have sequins fly everywhere. So, yeah, that's what I do with that. In the front part of this, I'm adding a mix of sort of glitter and coarse glitter and micro beads. Now, top tip that I didn't do here, but you should do. If you have one of those little embossing cushiony pad things, you know, that you wipe on your surface before doing embossing, wipe it on your acetate first when using something like glitter, even when using sequins, and then the glitter won't sort of stick to the acetate and stuff. The reason I didn't do it is because at the time my little embossing pad had gone MIA. It has since been found, but I didn't have it at the time. Apparently there is a trick you can do instead. You can put some talcum powder in a sock, and apparently that works just as well, but I do not own talcum powder, so yes, that's why I didn't use it. But you know, as my mother always used to say to me, do as I say, not as I do. Anyways, so once my shaker elements are complete, I've fussy cut some of these banners from the 8x8 paper pad, I'm going to say, just so they were slightly smaller, and I'm putting those up the top there with some tacky glue just to go on top there. And then, now I realise some of you won't want to do this, and I completely understand why, but I am using the front cover of the paper pad to fussy cut this Celebrate title and have that as my sentiment on the card. Now, as I said, totally understand why some of you wouldn't want to do this. You want to keep your paper pad nice and neat and whatnot. I probably would do that if I wasn't design team kind of thing, and I felt a bit freer with the items. I don't know, you know what I mean. But yes, you just want a largish sentiment, ideally something foiled and shiny and pretty. And yes, because there was a little panda on that word that I couldn't snip him off without it looking weird, I then fussy cut another little panda, because having two pandas, they were both facing the same way, and they were both the same panda kind of thing on the card, would have looked a bit silly, so I had to add a little third one there. And I've also made sure where I've put him down there, I'm not trapping any space between his legs, so to speak. So I'm just showing you there, I've put him quite purposely on an area of the banner, so none of the backing paper is, you know, sneaking up between his legs, so to speak. And now I'm just finishing off with just a couple of embellishments. I like lots of embellishments. You could very well leave the card as it is here. I'm sure a lot of card makers would, but I do like lots of little things on mine. So I've just punched a couple of little stars there, 1 centimetre ones, I believe, and I'm also adding a couple of Nuvo drops in the colour Sherbert Shimmer, which I always struggle to say, which is just a very bright pink glittery one. And with that, I believe this first card is finished, and you're probably hoping the video is, but it's not. Anyway, I'm just showing you that there, and the 2 layers of shaking. So there's glitter at the front, sequins at the back. So for my second one, slightly more complex, not by much, but slightly. This time, I'm cutting 2 papers. I'm just reaching for my measurements again. One paper at 5 by 7 inches. That's 12.6 by 17.8 centimetres. And one paper at 4 3/4 by 7 3/4. That is 14 by 17.2 centimetres. Oh, can't cope with all these measurements. I'm just showing you there, I'm using the love-themed dies from first edition, and I die cut that heart balloon shape 3 times into my 5 by 7 piece of card. And I'm also keeping hold of the actual die cuts I made from it. Obviously I'm using the negative there, and I'm just, again, eyeballing it with the acetate, put a load of double-sided tape on there and put the acetate on there. Now I did make an error here. Fellow YouTubers will feel me on this one. When you're doing a video, you're going to mess up. when you're not filming, you'll do it perfectly, but when you do film, that's when you make errors. I should have not put the acetate on. I should have just put the card flat onto the foam, traced the shapes that needed to be cut out of the foam to make the shaker element, and then there we go. But unfortunately, I did not do that. So instead, I had to use those die cut pieces and trace around those instead, which was a way more complicated way of doing it. But yes, as I said, when you're doing it on video, inevitably something messes up. And yes, and I wasn't going to start again from the beginning because I'm far too lazy for that. So you see, I've just made my little heart shapes. I'm putting them on there with tacky glue. I do prefer to use double-sided tape with shaker cards. I find it the most reliable, but when it's a shape like that, especially something with curved edges, it's going to take forever to... You can do double-sided tape, like do a little bit at once to go, you know, put down like a centimetre's worth, take the backing off, overlap it with another bit, but you guys know that I'm far too lazy for that sort of thing, so tacky glue was what I was going to do with that. And as you saw, I just put some extra bits of foam on there as well, so the whole card would lie flush on its backing piece as well. Now with the tacky glue, that was going to take a while to dry when it was attached to the acetate, of course, just because of the way these things work. So while waiting for that to dry, I decided to do my decoration on the front of the card, or at least part of it. And I'm using this paper from the 8x8 paper pad with like the party hats in a row, and then this little set of Dovecraft sort of peg stamps. You can pick these up really cheaply. I think I paid 50p each for my little sets. They're about £1 or £1. They were on sale at the time, obviously. They're about £1 or so in the range. Super, super handy. But yes, I'm just going to stamp out with those happy birthday to you, and then cut those into separate bits and have that going around the separate little heart balloon shaker elements kind of thing. So yes, that's what I'm doing there. And this font, I think, is really fun and matches the paper pad quite well. Yes, I'm just using Memento ink for that. No need to use a Stays On or anything fancy. But yes, I've caught up with myself. It's a miracle. There we go. I did, after doing the happy, decide to stamp straight onto the strip and then cut the words out, because then they would be better measured kind of thing. And then I wasn't quite happy with the way they look like that, so I've just chosen a contrasting paper to back each one of those bits on, and then I'm going to just cut around those with a border of just like a couple of millimeters. And I've also cut them, like, they're not straight, they're slightly wonky kind of thing. It's kind of like, if you want it straight, use your paper trimmer. If you're going to use your scissors, then make it wonky on purpose, I suppose. That's for me, anyway. That's just because I can't cut a straight line with scissors, really. Anyway, so those are made with the little backing things on. And now I'm going back to those die cuts I made, cutting off the string part of the balloon and then reattaching it to the acetate. Because obviously, you know, you can see the foam through it. And I didn't want you to be able to see... I didn't want the string part of the balloon to be any part of the shaker elements, so to speak. Now you could, of course, die cut it in a different colour, so the string is a slightly different colour. I personally thought if I did that it would stand out too much, but at the same time it might have been a good idea. So whatever your preference, really. And then, as you saw, I put happy birthday to you in separate little areas there. Now I'm just adding double-sided tape where I can on the back of the foam and tacky glue where I have to, and then filling with, I just used sequins in this one, I think. Oh no, that's a lie. I used some coarse glitter, and I put a different colour of coarse glitter in each of the hearts. So we got bright pink, a bright yellow, and a purple in there. The range have stopped doing these little jars of coarse glitter and micro beads. I can't find them anymore, and it makes me really sad. The Works had some, and they don't anymore. They had some little star ones, but I don't want those. I want my coarse glitter, and I want my micro beads. And they had them online, but I refuse to order from the range online because it's £3.95 for delivery. I live like 5 minutes from the range, and I refuse to pay that delivery charge. No, I won't do it. Anyway, I put my backing on. I always use my bone folder tool, just going over it, make sure it's super stuck right on there. And then I am getting confused. Sorry, I was doing something on my computer. Yes, just attaching it to the card blank. I forgot to show you that with the other card. But yes, I just add lots and lots of double-sided tape on just to make sure it's going to stay right on there. And there we go. It is finished. Oh, no, it's not. Tell a lie. I added a couple of little adhesive pearls, the rainbow ones from Simply Creative, because as I said earlier, I always like all my little little details, little features, totally personal preference. That's just what I like to do. The teeny tiny adhesive pearls, by the way, so much easier to use if you pick them up with a craft knife. I'm sure 95% of you know that, you know, you're old hat crafters and you know what you're doing, but just any newbies out there, use your craft knife. It's the kind of thing that I never used to use because I was kind of scared of it, but I'm growing up a bit and now I can use my craft knife. Anyways, I'm adding way more of those than I thought, but with that, the shaker cards are finished. So I hope you enjoyed this ever so slightly different Trimcraft Tuesday. Do let me know if you want to see any more card making. I don't want to, you know, do a scrapbook layout every single week. I do like to be a bit different for you guys sometimes. Oh goodness me, I'm adding even more adhesive pearls. Wow. Anyways, so yes, any questions, do let me know. If I left out something really obvious and forgot to tell you, I probably did multiple times when I got distracted by my own thoughts and seeing shiny things across the room. Anyways, it is now time for me to go. Please leave me a thumbs up if you enjoyed this video. I would super appreciate it. And a comment if you would be so kind, because I do love my comments. And yeah, subscribe if you haven't already. Links in the description box. As per usual, I am now going. Thank you again. Bye-bye.